how far would you go to make an impact in the world? The 10 incredible entrepreneurs will visit our campus to tell their stories and share the steps they took to be catalysts for change. The Entrepreneur Leadership Series, the most valuable one-credit class you will ever take.
Okay, we now have the president of our entrepreneurship club, Mikey Henderson, is going to introduce Tessa, and then we're going to turn the rest of the evening over to Tessa White.
Okay, like he said, my name is Mikey Henderson, and today I'll be talking a little bit about Tessa before she hops up here. Tessa White is the founder of The Job Doctor, a practice dedicated to helping individuals increase their promotability and work success. She is a former Fortune 50 executive, a 20-year expert in human resources, has been named by Disruptors magazine as one of the top female entrepreneurs to watch in 2021, and by USA Today as one of the top speakers to watch in 2022. She is frequently found in the Wall Street Journal and CNN Business, and her book on finding workplace satisfaction will be published by Harper Collins in 2022. Let's give it up for Tessa White.
All right, can you hear me? That's a yes. Okay, I'm going to take it as a yes. Well, it always surprises me when they introduce me like that because I feel like I'm such a normal person. I don't feel like I'm deserving of all of those nice things that they've said about me. I'm an old HR dog. I worked in HR for about 20 plus years. And one day I woke up and I said, you know what? I'm sick of protecting companies. I want to help the individual get ahead, and I decided to leave corporate America at the height of my earning potential. All my friends thought I was crazy, and I started a practice called The Job Doctor. Now, how this happened was quite fortuitous. The Job Doctor was an idea that happened during the pandemic, and I was bored. That's actually what happened. I was really bored. And I thought, you know, I'm stuck in my house, I'm going to reinvent myself because I did a lot of speaking for companies at that point, a lot of consulting. So I started building a website. I decided to have a model called Rent My Brain, where people could call me and I could be kind of the person whispering in their ear how to get more money, how to negotiate their job offer. And I thought, let's just see what happens. Well, we turned on The Job Doctor the same day that my daughter said, hey mom, you have really good stuff. Let's put you on TikTok. And I'm like, I don't even know how to log into TikTok. And she goes, don't worry, I've got this. She put 5 of my videos up on TikTok. And within 72 hours, I had 10,000 followers. And I had gone viral. And I got a call from my son, Zach, sitting right here. And he said, Mom, it's the weirdest thing. My girlfriend said she saw you on TikTok. Is that possible? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on TikTok. So now, and we turned it on, and within 24 hours, I had business. I had business coming in, and so much business that I don't know what to do with it, which is fantastic, right? 14 months later, I am an accidental influencer, because I have 1 million followers between my 2 social media platforms after 14 months and really, literally still not knowing what I'm doing. So that is who I am. And I thought before I get into my presentation, it might be interesting to just tell you a little bit about this career, a career as an influencer and what that means, because it's actually really interesting. And I've learned a lot over 14 months. All of the work that I do is done online. So people call me, they rent my brain. I have a system, and all I do is show up to work. It says, here's your appointments, here's what day, and people send me their things, and I get on the telephone, and I help people work things out. What I learned really quickly was that my time was really valuable, and I could charge one person to have 1 hour with me, or I woke up one day and went, hey, what if I did master classes? What if all of a sudden I had 5 people or 10 people in my 1 hour? And so then instead of earning $250 an hour, You times that by 5 or 10 or 20. And I decided to try it. And I turned on a master class. And by golly, it worked. So then all of a sudden, I have master class. And then I started to do the math, and I said, now if that works, that's interesting. What if I have small group mentoring sessions, limited availability, and get really targeted about what I teach people, and I market to companies instead of just waiting for people to find me? So now what I'm doing is I market to companies, and you'll sell 200 or 400 at a time. And you sell an 8-week or a 10-week course instead of a 1 session. So you can see how exponentially that business model just goes crazy. And I really do believe that influencers are going to be, that's a real career. And it's a career, it's where companies are going to go to advertise. You know how I know that? Because I'm nobody, and I'm on TikTok, and I am now paid about $4,000 for one 1-minute post from companies. And companies will reach out to me and say, I want you to just talk about your product. I want you to tell people about this product. Now, I'm really careful about the ones I take on because I don't want to represent stupid products, right? Now, I just hired somebody to help me because it just blew up. It went crazy. And I can't do it all anymore as a 1 or 2-man show. Now I have a computer person that helps me with my system. I have somebody that helps me with all my social media. I have somebody that helps me with selling. And I'm going to hire an operations manager. So that's all in 14 months, which is really crazy to me. So now we're going to say, people are always asking, well, where'd you get that jacket, or where'd you get that outfit? We're going to tag my clothes and get more money for wearing the clothes that I wear when I do the TikToks, when I talk to companies about the product, people about the products that they should buy. So it's actually turning out to be the most fascinating, wonderful entrepreneurial venture I could have ever dreamed. And it's all because I just woke up one day and said, I'm kind of bored being here in my house. Let's just see what happens if I push this button. Well, I wonder what happens when I pull this lever. And having the flexibility and the freedom to not have to necessarily bring home a certain amount of money so that I can experiment has really been what has allowed me to try all these things. I've tried some things that haven't worked as well. But isn't it interesting that with the freedom to just be creative and try these things, that I'm actually making the funnest career, the funnest I've ever had, is at this stage in my life. I never would have guessed it. I can work from anywhere. I can choose the clients I take on, and it is really a blast. And I actually hope that in another year or 2 from now, if this is only 14 months in, what can I tell you in 14 more months from now? Because this has gotten me a book deal. It's gotten me friends, CEOs of huge companies who are my clients now. It has gotten me on Wall Street Journal, CNN, Good Morning America, the doctors. It has done all kinds of things for me, all because of social media and being stuck in my house. So that's what I wanted to start with, is just to tell you a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey. Thank heavens my dad was an entrepreneur and taught me to take risks, because I'm so grateful that he did that. His first store was a clothing store in Logan on Main Street called The Competition, where he sold specialty jeans. And I worked with my dad from a very young age, and he always said, you can do anything, you can be anything, don't let anything restrain you. So here I am, HR person turned accidental influencer. All right, so I want to talk to you today about this idea of how you advance your career and what I know about careers, especially because you are going to be embarking on your careers. And I've seen it behind closed doors. It's really fun to be from my perspective. I have a front row to the circus as the head of HR, because I get to see it from your perspective, the company's perspective, your manager's perspective. And here's what I can tell you for sure. You have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. And you're going to go to the workforce and you're going to say, why is so-and-so getting a raise? They're so lame. And then you're going to say, why is my career stalling out? That's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you how to interpret what's going on and what you see around you. So let me try and see if I can consolidate in a very, very short period of time. I don't know how far we'll get because I've not done this presentation before, but let me see if I can teach you a few things that I think will be very helpful to you. So number one, I want to teach you career accelerator skill sets. If you think about your career as a car, you can have the prettiest body, you can have a Tesla, you can have BMW, I don't care what car you have. You can have the best car possible, but unless the engine's working, you got nothing, right? So think about your career as the body of the car, and the engine, meaning the skill sets that you got to know to get ahead in the workforce. The problem is a lot of people pick the wrong things to work on. They go to work and they get a performance appraisal, and their boss says, yeah, could you really work on being more detail-oriented? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm gonna work on. Run, run, run. But what they don't know is I'm like a human database. I have tens of thousands of people I've seen, and there are different skill sets you need at different careers. You have to work on the right things. Now, if you think about an engine to a car, there's also the oil, right? The oil makes it run smooth. And what I'm going to start with today, because I know we can get through these, are some of the truths and the lies of the workforce. I want you to know these when you go into your first career jobs, because if you don't, you're going to muck around and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So let's first tell you how to know if you've got some problems at work. There are warning indicators. There are things that, if these things are happening to you, I'll use my special pointer here. If these things are happening, if one happens, it might be a fluke. If a second one happens to you at work, it's probably, could be a coincidence, but if 3 of those are happening, that's no coincidence, that's a pattern. So I want you to pay attention to those, because people don't understand. They just think they might be at a bad company, but the biggest clue is if things are standing still for you, you got warning indicators. Something is going wrong with the way you're doing things. So don't just think it's the company. If you have a bunch of patterns here, it means you got to pay attention. So let me teach you what I think might be going wrong, and let's take it from there. All right. Principle number 1 I want to teach you. People think that companies are going to return the loyalty that they give. And this is going to sound really cynical. It's not meant to. It's just honest. Companies don't have loyalty like people have loyalty. It's not the same. Companies are loyal to results. Companies are loyal to results. And if you can't get results, company's not loyal to you. And companies are also, I want you to understand what a company is or isn't. The only reason a company actually exists is to make money. If a company isn't there to sell a product and make money, it cannot exist. And so companies, by their very nature, are designed to be the most efficient, and they're designed not to spend more money than they need to. Never in the history of work have you been in a conversation where somebody goes, you know what, Joe, I want you working 25% less. Let's see what happens. I don't care if you get results. Let's try that. Let's try that on. Let's see if that works for the company. It doesn't happen, because companies are designed to take what you will give, and they are designed to take as much as you will give. So I'm telling you this not so you will be a slacker. Don't be a slacker at work. It won't make you feel good about yourself. I want you to work hard at a company. You should work hard, because when you work hard, you feel better. You feel better about yourself. But don't expect your company to set work-life balance for you. Never be more loyal than a company can reasonably be to you in return. This is really important. Your boss is not your life coach. They're not your counselor. And there are companies that care about work-life balance. So I'm not saying companies don't care about work-life balance. And there's some enlightened companies that do understand there is a connection between happy employees and work. But don't expect the company to fix it for you. You have to set your own boundaries. I want to teach you that because I almost killed my own relationships and my own family. I was the worst mother in the world. Zach doesn't even know, I'm going to tell a story about him. I'm the worst mother in the world. I caught myself driving home from work, and it was my son's birthday. And I had forgotten to plan a party. I had nothing waiting at home. I was exhausted. I was working really long hours, like 50, 60-hour work weeks. And I started calling the grocery store. Can you get a cake? Can you put my son's name on this cake? I started ordering balloons. Hey, can you get some balloons? I'm gonna come pick them up in 10 minutes. I'll be right there. I started calling family members to put together a party to try and show my son that I cared. And then I did something I am still ashamed of today. You'll remember this. I called my son and I offered him a bribe. It truly was a bribe. I said, I will give you $20 and you can go to the store and buy anything you want, because $20 was a lot to him then. Or you can have a party. What would you like? And I knew full well what I was doing, and I know full well it was a bribe. And I knew he'd take it, and he took it. And I was so relieved, because I was the worst mother in the world. And the reason I want to tell you that is because you are going to find, because a company will take as much as you are willing to give, it is your responsibility to set boundaries. Boundaries that keep you healthy and happy. And your manager is not a mind reader. That means your manager doesn't automatically know when you've hit capacity. So if you've hit capacity, you owe it to your manager to say, I've hit capacity. They don't know. And when you can have those kinds of conversations with your manager, they'll help you create more space. But ultimately, it's not their job, it's your job. A lot of people think they're going to get fired if they work less or they don't give 60 hours a week. And I say, I want you to look around the room. You're going to find people who work less than you, and you're going to find people that work more than you. You are not going to get fired. Is your manager going to know if you're working 5% less? To bring yourself sanity. So I want every one of these to have something you can do to make it better. And in this case, the one thing I want you to try to make it better if you're in this situation, there are 3 buckets. There's a bucket that you can do without telling anybody to create work-life balance. There is a bucket that you have to at least let your manager kind of know what you're doing. And there's the come to Jesus bucket. That's the one where you have to have the hard talk with your manager. We're not going to pay attention to that one right now. We're going to start at bucket 1. Bucket 1 is things I can do that nobody has to know about. You can take a 15-minute break during the day. You can't bully your brain. I hate to break it to you. You cannot bully your brain. Your brain stops working. And when your brain stops working, you work slower and you will get less done. So stand up. Listen to your favorite music. Meditate. Call a friend. Call somebody and say thank you. Call a colleague and say, I just want to know about you. Tell me 3 things I don't know about you. Book a concert or a night out. Look at your PTO and book a 3-day weekend. You can do that. Don't eat at your desk. Set boundaries about when you turn off your media when you get home and how many times you check your email. Only check your email morning, midday, and night. Because otherwise, if you're breaking your brain and you're bullying your brain, you're just going to spend all day staring at that screen because it's all you have the energy to do. So limit yourself. And the last thing you can do without telling your manager is understand when you're most productive during the day and do your hardest tasks then. Okay? So that's my takeaway for principle number 1. Remember, lies about loyalty. Never be more loyal than a company can be to you. All right, let's talk about 2. I'm going to check my notes on this one. All right. Results are your greatest currency. Yeah. This is important because a lot of people think that if you work hard, you're going to be rewarded. That is a lie. Hard workers aren't rewarded. People that get results are rewarded. People that work smart are rewarded. Here's a truth that you're not going to want to hear. I can have a really hard worker as a manager, but I would take all day long somebody who is a Mostly hard worker that works smart. I really would. And it would be really great if you were a really hard worker and you work smart. So you got to make sure that you understand that results are your currency. Leverage is everything when it comes to getting money in a company, when it comes to getting yeses for your asks. When you get results, that is leverage to get what you want. So it's really important that you speak, that you know that you understand that. A lot of people think that the answer is to look at their job description and follow their job description. And I'm going to give you really weird advice. Your job description is a piece of crap. And it was probably written by somebody in HR who wrote it the night before it had to get posted on a job board. Now, I'm not saying companies haven't spent a lot of time, because I've been in charge of job descriptions. Spent a lot of time making sure that they accurately represent what we want you to do. But that is not how you get ahead. You get ahead when you do something I call playing in the gap. So think about companies. Think about, you go work at a company, some of you already know this, and the company says, it's the greatest place to work. It's wonderful. We're like family here. It's so great, and you're going to find that you're just part of our family, and the culture's great, and we have swag, and we're changing the planet. That's what you're going to hear. Well, a company has what they want to be directionally, right? And it's this beautiful mansion that sparkles, has a pool around it, and pool boys, and you're fanned when you sit back by the pool. And then there's what companies really are. And it's a dilapidated, broken down house usually that needs painting, and the pool might not be full yet. So your job is to play in the gap between what the company wants to be, that's an honest representation of what they want to be, and what the company actually is, because every company has warts. Every company, from big companies to small companies, they all have warts. They have things that don't work. And if you want to get promoted and you want to grow in a company, you don't follow your job description harder, better. You actually say, what are the problems I can see from my sphere of influence, and how do you solve them? That's how you do it. That's how you get raises and promotions, is you solve the problems that you see. And it's really important to understand that. I had a guy named Josh. He worked for me. You'll wonder why I hired him. So I worked at Vivint Solar. It's the craziest place in the whole world to work. There's a bunch of bros with caps. They're about 30 years old, and then there's about 5 adults. That's it. That's the company. And so the salespeople, these salespeople are really good at selling, and they take a lot of pride in recruiting their own people. And they want to recruit their sales teams. They don't let HR touch it. They hate HR. So Josh comes in. We have to increase the number of salespeople because the turnover is enormous in door-to-door sales. Like, we have to increase recruiting by 25%. And Josh comes in and he goes, the sales guys won't let me touch anything. Now, if you are following your job description, you're going, well, I'll just keep recruiting those people. I'm going to keep putting job postings up on Indeed and sending them to those sales guys. And that means that I am recruiting. No, that is not what Josh did. Josh is a social media influencer. He takes B-class movie stars and he helps them get famous again by viral videos. I hired him for that reason. Isn't that weird? I'm like, that could work. That could work here. You have no recruiting experience? You're hired. So he comes in and he looks at the sales guys and he goes, okay, I recognize the sales guys do not want to have me recruit for them. They want to do the recruiting. They want to be in the limelight, but they're only doing one person at a time. That's not efficient. They'll never get through the door at one at a time. So what Josh decided to do was put on an event. He's like, hey, what if I fill the room with people you can recruit? I'm going to fill a room. If you show up on this day, at this place, and this time, I'm going to have giant Jenga towers. I'm going to have speakers. I'm going to have balloons. I'm going to have the craziest stuff. I'm going to have a tiger in a cage. Yeah. I'm going to have a tiger that people can see. And the sales guys go nuts. They're like, are you freaking kidding me? You will do that for me? And he's like, darn right, I'll do that for you. And so Josh would fill the room. The sales guys would get up front, felt like $1 million because they could do what they do best in front of a whole audience. Josh increased our recruiting output by a lot more than 25% without adding any additional cost to the company over what we were going to spend before. And instead of just like going, yeah, can't recruit, they hate HR, Josh won the battle. So that's what I'm talking about when I say you've got to get results. You've got to think differently. So your takeaway on this one is that I want you to think about, how do you play in the gap in your job? Do you have an innovations gap? Do you have a reporting gap? Do you have a food gap? We actually had somebody say, hey, I think we're spending too much money in lunches. What if we had like places come and bring food and you could just order it and they bring it all at once? Would that save us money over the whole kitchen staff we have? Well, it saved us $1 million. There are opportunities for you within your view to get to a different answer if you pay attention to how I get results versus your job description. All right, I gotta get a drink real fast. You live off Diet Coke. It's good for you. All right. Oh, yeah, this one. You don't know the truth. Have you seen that movie? You can't handle the truth. I'm telling you right now, here's how it works. I've done this a long time. A manager's going to come to me and they're going to say, I need to let Lauren go. And I'm going to say, does Lauren know it's coming? And they're going to go, oh yeah, Lauren knows it's coming. Here's the one thing I know absolutely for sure. Lauren does not know it's coming. This is what I know after firing thousands of people in the course of my career. So I want you to go into your jobs knowing you will never really know the truth about how you're seen and experienced. It's not going to be accurate. And I want to teach you how to get more accurate, because if you can get more truthful, I call it more truth-telling about you, you will be able to make quick refinements and quick fixes that allow you to go so much faster than everybody else. You know, I was in the room when our CEO was fired. It was really interesting. I got a call to come in the morning, and I was sitting there with the board, the head of our board, early morning meeting, and I'll be darned if he did not fire the CEO right in front of me. It was just like, whoa, did not know that was coming. So that was weird, right? The crazy thing is, when I thought about it, I knew that the CEO wasn't cutting it. My colleagues knew the CEO wasn't cutting it. It's not like we talked about it, but we knew. We worked together every day. We knew there were problems, and yet it surprised me. I did not see it coming. And I'll tell you who else didn't see it coming: the CEO. CEO did not see that coming. So then, sorry, got to put this back on. They say to me, okay, they escort him out of the building. And they go, we want you to meet your new boss. Oh, well, all right, let's go meet the new boss. I sit down with my new boss, and he says, Tessa, thank you for being here today. You're the first person I've met with. I just have one question for you. Do you want to be here? What do you mean, do I want to be here? What kind of question is that, right? And he said, I understand that you're pretty negative, that you've kind of been a negative presence lately. I just want to know if you really want to be here. And half of the executives we've already made a decision are going to be gone. I'm giving you the choice. You can stay. I think there's some really good things you have done. And you can stay, but you can't stay unless you're on board, because I can't have detractors. Holy crap. So the CEO just got fired and I didn't see it coming, and I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And I just sat down with the new CEO and I did not see that coming, right? I had no idea that's what people thought. And so I tell you this because you don't know it either. You will not know that it's coming. Here's how it works with performance appraisals. I've done this for 20 plus years. We say to managers, Differentiate. Tell us who your best performers are and who your worst performers are. Make sure you're really honest. And they go, yes, we will absolutely do it. But it's going to be hard because they're all top performers. And we say, try it anyway. And they come back, and guess what? Everybody's the same score. Everybody's the same. And we say, really? You don't have any bottom performers? You don't have any superstars? All my people are superstars. This is what happens in every single company. So we make them go back. They usually won't. So everybody gets a score saying they're great. And here's what happens. A month later, the manager comes to me and they go, she's not working out. Got to let her go. I'm like, well, she's a superstar. No, she's not. She is not a superstar. Like, how can somebody go from being a superstar to a not superstar in a month? And it is because people, not just managers, but people in general, we suck at conflict. We just do. We do not want to feel uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to tell somebody that they're not doing well. It's very, very uncomfortable for us to give hard feedback. Or if you're in a business and you're rising up, it's hard for us to get comfortable with conflict. And guess what? You will not grow in a company until you can do it. Because the higher you go in a company, the more conflict there is. When you get to be a director, you are fighting for resources every day. And the same decisions being made over and over. They reprioritize and decide if your project's going to make it or not going to make it, whether you're going to get the money or not get the money. Guess what? You don't succeed if you can't have the conversation about priorities. And it's a conflict conversation. It's one of the biggest skill set gaps that I see when people move from a manager to a director. They just can't get comfortable with conflict. So know that whatever you think you know about yourself in a company, it's likely a watered down version of what the truth is. So if you get feedback that is somewhat negative, times it by 10. Because your manager will usually wait until it's really serious. They'll go, I've even done this. I'm just going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see. I think they're going to get better. It's going to be good. Maybe it's just an anomaly. Maybe it's just a thing. And then all of a sudden one day, the manager hits this point and they go, oh, I can't stand it anymore. And then cue up the discussion. Does she know it's coming, or does he know it's coming? So if you hear anything negative, you got to go after it. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Call it a, what do I call it? I just named it the other day. I call it the 4-pack. Yeah, it's the, I can't even remember the whole name. I want you to do a feedback 4-pack. That's what it is. When you're in a company, there is no rule against seeking feedback. But we all wait, right, till year end. We never go out and find it. It's uncomfortable, but I want you to get uncomfortable. I want you to go find 4 people. I want your manager, somebody on your team that you trust and like a lot, somebody that's neutral on you, and somebody that probably doesn't like you. And I want you, and one of those has to be outside your department. And I want you to go visit with them. And I want you to ask 3 questions. What advice would you give me about how to get ahead in this company, and what, what's worked for you? You ask for advice rather than feedback on this question, because it will help you get some really good stuff that helps you with politics, which we're not going to talk about today. But it helps you understand what works for other people. The second thing I want you to ask them is, how do you think others perceive me? And the reason I want you to ask it that way is because when you say, how do you perceive me? We don't like conflict, so guess what? You're not going to get an honest answer. But if you say, how do you think others perceive me? You're going to get a much more honest answer. And then the third question is, what is the one thing that if I did, you think would make the biggest difference? I want you to do that, and I want you to do it 2 to 3 times a year, because it gives you that many more opportunities to refine what you're doing and perfect what you're doing so that you can have good performance and you do have a better chance of knowing the truth. All right, next, Zach, where are we with time? What time? Okay. All right. Principle number 4 is all about power. Power in an organization. People think that the people that have power are the people that have the corner office and the title and the budget. And I'm not saying those people don't have some power, But every single person in a company can have power. But, and there's a big but, you got to know how to get it, right? And you get power by speaking the language of the business. This was taught to me by a CEO. The language of business is numbers. If you can't speak it, you're in trouble. So learn to speak it, and learn to speak it fast. These things that are on this list here are pretty important for you to understand, because I don't care what your job is, you can affect the numbers in your department. And you have to make proposals and asks using numbers, or it's not going to be as effective. If I say, yeah, will you fund my really great idea? I have a good feeling it's going to work. That is not going to work. What will work is when you say, I've done some research on this, and I think we can get a 20% uplift in our customer scores if we do this. The reason I think we can is because if we do this, we know that if we talk to the customers this way, it generates this much more in sales. And when we get more in sales, it's going to, this particular product, when we sell more, customers are happier. You have to be able to speak the language. If you do not know in your role how you measure success, and you're actually not creating your own little benchmarks or your own scorecard, start doing it, because it's something to put on your resume when you do change jobs, and it's going to help you make pitches better. I want to tell you about an admin that I worked with. So I try and go to the kind of the entry-level person. This admin worked for the CEO, and she goes, I was helping her with her resume, and she said, yeah, I can't, I don't know what to put on my resume. I haven't really done anything. I haven't really changed anything. I'm like, yeah, you have. Let's talk about it for a minute. What have you done? And we started talking. She said, well, I did do this one board thing. Well, what was the board thing? Well, the executives were a mess. Every time we had a board meeting, it's this big race to the finish line, never can get all the materials in time, coming skidding in, everything is just still wet. And she said, so what I did was I decided we needed a repository where we could put all the board materials. So we didn't have to mail these big binders to the board. I go, wow, that sounds pretty great. Well, how did you do that? How did you do a repository? You're not like a techie. She said, oh, I worked with IT. They showed me a tool I could use to put everything in, and then I could set up like the old past board meetings and then the current board meetings, and then everybody could see all the past materials, because board members are always losing past materials, and they could see the future materials. And then she said we didn't have to mail it. Really? That sounds pretty great. If you didn't have to mail it, did that save you time? Oh yeah, we saved a week. We had an extra week we could have meetings and prepare our stuff if we did it this way. So even an admin was able to save money, time, efficiency, and we were able to put that into her resume, and she got a really great job. She all of a sudden looked like a hero. Every single one of you have that opportunity. I don't care where you work. It goes back to what's the gap? What's the problem that needs to be solved? Then you just got to figure out how to measure it. And when you can measure it, you can ask for things. When you speak this language, you can ask for raises. You can ask for money. You can ask for companies to do experimental projects with you. So you got to be able to do this. I recommend that you actually get really current on what's going on in the industry you're working. I don't know what industries you all work in, but if you're not spending your first 10 minutes of your day reading what's going on in the newspapers or the business publications that are out there, you really need to do that. If you don't have Clubhouse, you should get Clubhouse, because Clubhouse is a really good business forum where people are talking about what's going on in business all the time. And you just pop in, it's like if NPR and LinkedIn had a baby, that's Clubhouse. They just talk. And you can pop in and out, and you can come up on the stage and talk, and you can ask questions, and then you can leave anytime you want. Nobody sees your face. So you need to get current on things, because knowledge buys power. Data is power for you. Okay, last one. Zach, how are we doing? What time is it? Okay, and then I'll take questions. All right, company politics. Oh my gosh. Everybody thinks that politics are the enemy, right? Oh, I love working for my company, but politics, oh, the company politics are gonna kill me. Politics are so bad, I wish I could leave my company. The company politics are horrible. Let me tell you something about politics. They exist everywhere, right? So if you don't have them at one company, you'll have them at another. Now you may like the politics of this company better than the politics of the other company, that's fine. Find the fit for you, that's okay. But company politics are the keys to the kingdom, my friends. They are literally the keys to the kingdom. And I'm not talking about politics the way you think about politics. I'm not saying you need to brown nose. That is not politics. Company politics teach you how to get stuff over a finish line. If you pay attention, it will teach you whether the company is fast or slow. It's going to teach you whether the company operates autonomously and lets you make independent decisions, or whether you have to do it more by committee. It's going to tell you whether the company's risk averse or more, traditional. It's going to tell you whether or not the company's innovative, or the company doesn't like to go there and they just like to stay steady. Company politics are important, and I'm going to tell you one story and then I'll open it up for questions. My job was saved because of a drawing on a napkin. Yet again, my job was saved, right? So I worked I had been at Fortune 50 company, very buttoned down health company. This is a company whose politics were everything has to be buttoned down. If you make a decision, everybody has to know about it. You don't make mistakes. You really do your research. You get it done and you roll it out right. That was United Health Group. Then I find myself at Vivint Crazy Solar, right? I'm at this crazy company and I'm trying to do my job, and the sales guy comes to me and goes, we need to fix the commission plan. There's a problem. Great, I'm on it. And so I talk to him, what's the problem? And I go back to my office, and 2 weeks later I come back. I think I am working lightning fast, right? I've done some research, I've figured out how we might be able to do it, and I think I am a winner. And I come to him and I say, I think I have your answer. And he goes, we already rolled it out. I'm like, what do you mean you already rolled it out? You didn't even talk to me. We just talked 2 weeks ago. What do you mean you rolled it out? He goes, yeah, he looks me in the eye and he goes, if you're too slow, I don't need you. Wow, well that's interesting, right? So luckily, I took my cues and I realized, interesting, this is a company that goes fast. This is a company who does speed at all. Speed is the rule. The faster you go, the better, because more glass on roofs is going to equate to, we don't know what, but everybody needs to have the glass on roof so we can figure out what's next, right? That's how you become a leader in solar. So fast is good. The strategy is one word, is fast. Fast is the strategy of the company. So I have to go fast, not slow. You can make individual decisions. You don't have to do it by committee, and when you make a mistake, it's okay. If I'd have made a mistake at United, I'd have been fired. You can make mistakes all day long at Vivint as long as you fix it really fast. So the second time he came to me, I don't know why he gave me another chance, he said, got a problem with the comp plan. There we were, drawing it out on a napkin over lunch, rolled out in a week, done, hero, and had I not made the adjustment, I would have actually not worked out of the company. And it's not because I'm not good, it's because I wasn't reading the politics. I wasn't reading the politics of the company. So if you're struggling at a company, I want you to start paying attention to the politics, because it's the one thing that's available to every single person that works there is the politics of the company. All right, I think we're to a question answer, but I want to just let you know, we didn't get to go through all this fun stuff, but there are stages of your career. Stages of your career that you have. I'm gonna go this so fast, 2 minutes. Is that okay, Mike? Okay, stages of your career. First stage of your career, you're a doer. Your only job is to follow directions. That's how you are successful. You follow directions faster or better. Stage 2 of your career, and you can't move to stage 2 until you do stage 1. Stage 2, you have to start figuring out what needs to be done without somebody telling you. In fact, you have to be independent, right? You have to independently figure out how to fill in the gaps. Your manager will give you the long-term goal. You got to fill in the in-between. So the thing that got you ahead in stage 1 will make you fail in stage 2 unless you move. Stage 3. Stage 3 is when you, ironically, go into a job where you have to start working with other departments. You have complex stuff. So now, if you work independently and don't check in with anybody, you're in real big trouble. You actually have to go back, confusingly enough, to making sure that not only are you doing what your boss needs, but that you work well with others and you're interdependent. You have to be interdependent at a stage 3. This is where the mid-managers live, and it sucks to be a middle manager. You're in the sandwich of just yuck, because your senior people are yelling at you to get stuff done, and people below are going, that's ridiculous, and you have to make it all work. But you have to be interdependent. Now, next stage, director. Directors, their big job is to get really comfortable with conflict. And their job is to be a builder. So they have to be able to figure out how to, in fact, I'll quickly show you the slide. Here you go. They have to get buy-in and resources. If they cannot get buy-in and resources, they're dead. Because if you can't speak up and you can't get them for your people, you can't do the job, you can't get results. So it's really, really important. And you have to learn how to talk concisely, fast, because you're working in executive meetings. If you can't get your point across quickly, you're gonna fail. And then the last one, stage 5, this is the C-suite. These guys are expanders. They're the ones that set the vision for everybody. And I'm gonna give you a rule that they have. It's called the rule of 33. Everybody hates on C-suite, and they go, they're out of touch. They don't know what they're doing. They're out of touch with their people. Well, of course they're out of touch. You know what? Their job isn't just to manage the department. They have to spend 33% of their time working outside with boards, investors, figuring out who are the merger acquisition targets, what's the competition doing. 33% of their time working with other departments to make sure there's not duplication of money and effort, and everybody's aligned for the big projects, and they get to spend about 33% of their time looking at their team. Rule of 33. So don't be mad at C-suite people. It's actually a really hard job. So I just want to let you know that those are we could talk about this for hours, but those are the 5 stages. And when you work on those, and you work on the right skill sets, then you're ready for the next one. And it will help you be more successful in your careers. All right, I am going to stop there because that is a lot of information, and see what kind of questions that you have for me. Sky's the limit. Remember, I know all secrets to the companies. Yes?
How do you move from like a doer into like the position of an independent?
Usually it's you start as a coordinator or a specialist. A lot of like a customer support would be a really good first at stage 1. And you get promoted when you can show that you don't just follow directions, but that you're starting to understand that you can define how the project gets done, and your language changes with your manager. Instead of saying, what do I do next? You're saying, hey, I think that I'm going to go this direction and solve this problem this way. Does that feel okay? So your language changes. Yes?
When you received feedback from the CEO that you were negative, how did you change that perception?
How did I change the perception when my CEO told me I was negative? Well, here's a little trick about perception. It's an interesting thing. You don't change perceptions going backwards, so stop trying to argue. If you ever get called out on a performance issue, it's useless for you to try and talk them out of their opinion. You go forward only. So what I did was I went forward and then gave him evidences that I was being positive. So every time something happened that was positive, I would try and call it out and say, I'm working on this. I wanted you to make sure you knew I did this or handle it this way, so that you can give proof points to change the narrative. That's the fastest way to do it, is look forward only. Run at it. I tell people, run at it. Yes?
What is one of the biggest traits you've seen those who add value in like workplace other than just work?
Say that one more time. I missed the first part.
What is one of like the biggest like personality traits that you find in those who add value to companies instead of just working? So what's being smarter and harder?
Yeah, they're people who are really inquisitive. They're learners. They ask questions. Like if something's not working, they say why a lot. So think about when you first join a company. When you first come to a company, you have these fresh eyes, right? And you see everything new and you're like, this is weird. Why do they do it that way? But after about 6 months of working in a company, you're like, we just do it this way. This is the way we do it this way, right? But the people that get promotions and that get results are people that keep those fresh eyes. And they keep saying, why do we do it this way? I think we could do it different. Let's try this. Let's try that. They don't lose those fresh eyes. Yes?
So your company kind of got around really fast and got started moving. What helped you kind of adapt to that fast pace that?
Well, I was used to working 60-hour work weeks. You know, I'm this crazy executive that just asks Zach. I can never turn it off. I never have been able to turn it off. It's really hard for me to stay in balance. So it was easy for me and actually more fun because now I was controlling my own destiny. Instead of just doing it for somebody else, it was like if I did something and it worked, it was like it was helping me. It's helping my business grow. So it became very motivating. Yes?
As a leader in an organization, at times there will be times when somebody in your organization maybe isn't living up to their full potential, or you know that they can do more. But to them, they think they hit a wall, or maybe they have, maybe they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But when you deal with underperformance or with individuals that don't believe in themselves to the level that they truly can achieve, how do you address that? How do you help them kind of reconfigure their minds and be able to kind of get all those results that you talked about?
I think clarity is such an important thing. It's missing in workplaces. So I teach people a model. It's what I expected, what did I observe? If you can describe what I expected to see, what I saw, describe the gap, and then say, here's the consequences to me, to you, to others, to the team, and then you put it back on that person and say, is that the way you see it? Do you see it differently? It actually sets the stage for a non-accusatory kind of conversation. It just states facts and allows you to talk with each other. In fact, there's the 3 most powerful phrases to fix stuff is that what you intended? Do you see it that way? Do you see it differently? Those are really powerful. So that's what I would do with an employee is try to help them understand the gap and then let them be participating in the solution by saying, how do you see it? And come up with something. Sometimes it's the right thing to let somebody go. Sometimes there's a skills problem, sometimes it's a motivation problem. If it's a motivation, you can fix it. If it's a skills problem, you make a run at training or whatever, but sometimes exit's the right thing. It's just not the right answer for somebody. That was a very real question, yeah.
What are ways that you've been able to increase your skills dealing with conflict without actually putting yourself in those situations?
Well, I think that's actually a really good question because you get to experience it every day. So for all of you, you will be negotiating a pay package at some point very soon. That's your first opportunity to experience conflict. And you either shut up or you say something, right? You start to say, here's what I think I'm worth and here's why. So that's the first place that you show up. The second place is once you're at work, you're not going to always agree with your manager. And some people sit back and just go, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Never ask questions, but you've got to get to a point that you can become a partner, being a partner with your manager. And that's going to require you to say, hey, I noticed this, but I expected this. Is that what you intended, manager? Maybe it's about burnout. Hey, I noticed that I'm working 5 out of the last 10 days, 2 hours over, and there's a lot of extra work. I really want to take one for the team, and I want us to look good. But I would expect it to be the exception, not the rule. I wanted to bring it to your attention because you may not even be aware of it. Is that what you intended? And that's a better way. You got to learn to talk to your manager about things, or you're going to get tromped on, and you'll never get that skill of conflict taken care of. Anything else? Yes?
So as you know, we teach entrepreneurship as a new leadership model. It's a model for careers, leadership, and organizations. It's not just about startups. We emphasize problem solving, innovation, value creation. That's the skill set. And you touched upon that tonight. Can you talk about how those skills, those entrepreneurial skills, are so important to careers as you described it tonight?
Yeah, Boy, I think creativity, if I have to think of one thing that's gotten me ahead, it's creativity and innovation and being unafraid to try things within the business world. One of my first jobs, I was the HR specialist, right? Lowest person on the totem pole. And I realized that we weren't doing EEOC stuff. We didn't even know what it was. It was Stephen R. Covey's company. I got to work with him. It was really cool. So I said, hey, we're not doing this, and we have to do this. And I started learning. That's one key, you got to learn. Started learning and doing, and we ended up getting audited like a month later after I finished the plan, which was really a crappy thing to have to build. It was really hard. But then I was the hero, and because I filled this niche, we ended up passing the audit with flying colors, and then we didn't have any fines, and I was the hero, and that got me my first promotion because Tess is somebody that is going to step in and see what needs to be done and do it. So when I talk to you guys about getting results and playing in the gap, you know, that's this whole idea of being innovative and not being afraid to see the problems and come at it from really unusual solutions. You should run at it and you should do it. You should try. There's different stages when you do different things in your career. In your first, from age like 20 to 28, you should just experiment the heck out of life. You should experiment the heck out of jobs. You should find out what you do well, what you like, what you don't like. Don't worry about moving around companies. Experiment, because that's what you're supposed to do, so that by the time you're 28 to 35, you can kind of lock in and start building a career that feels right to you, and then you can just excel in it. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Follow me, Job Dr. Tessa, on Instagram or TikTok. I'd love to see you either place. Thank you. Can't believe I almost missed that with this many people.
Thank you, Tessa. Let's give her another round of applause.